Hello everybody and thank you for joining us on this Gradcracker webinar with AtkinsRéalis. I have worked with AtkinsRéalis for a number of years and they advertise their degree apprenticeships, placements, internships and graduate opportunities on Gradcracker, which are all now live. So during this webinar, our aim is to find out more about AtkinsRéalis. So again, we will talk about who they are, what they do, and also what opportunities you, our STEM students, can apply to this year on Gradcracker. So starting with our contact Sarah from the Early Careers team, we'll have an introduction to the business and also all of their opportunities. And there is lots on offer this year, again from your degree apprenticeships, graduates and placement opportunities. We will then speak to the graduates about what life is like for them, what projects they have worked on, if they're involved in any networking groups, training and development, their future plans. There's lots and lots to cover as part of the webinar today. Again, we will then end the webinar by speaking to Sarah and discussing the recruitment process and giving you an idea of how you can be successful during the process and also when you start your career with AtkinsRéalis. So during this webinar as well, during this part of the webinar, Amelia, Harry and Ivy will give you also an insight into how they use Gradcracker to apply and how they were successful in putting their applications together. And obviously they have been successful because they are here today. So let's get started and meet AtkinsRéalis. So Sarah, could you give yourself an introduction to the students?
Sure. So I'm Sarah Westbury. I've been with the business just over 7 years, working our early careers recruitment team, and we look after the recruitment for graduates, apprentices, and placement students throughout the UK.
Yeah, so you've got a very busy role because you recruit
Yes.
lots of students.
Yeah, we do have quite a large intake, one of the larger intakes, I think, of the industry
Yeah,
that we're in. It was, typically, I think it's over 700 we're planning this year to
yeah,
take, and there's usually quite a lot going on at this time of year, to be quite honest. So we're live with all types of our early careers roles now, so they're all available, which are available. You'll see on Gradcracker.
yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sarah. So Sarah's read quite a few applications during the years that you've been there, haven't you? So we'll give it that was a big intake of breath. Quite a few. So Sarah, AtkinsRéalis. So who are you as an organisation?
So we're a world-class engineering services and nuclear organisation. So we help create sustainable solutions, connecting people, data, and technology to transform the world's infrastructure and global energy systems. There's over 36,000 staff that we have. So there's lots of us across the whole globe. Um, and we speak lots of different languages. There's lots of different nationalities across 6 continents. We cover a variety of sectors, so things like transportation, infrastructure, environment, water, energy, defence, technology, and aerospace. So it's a real mix.
Mhm. There's definitely opportunities there for everybody. And I know you're a huge company, but as I mentioned at the beginning, I've worked with AtkinsRéalis for a number of years and it doesn't feel that big. You do have like a little community family feel there, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what makes us a bit different is that although we are a large organisation,
Mhm.
every person is kind of treated as a person. You're not just a cog in a wheel.
Yeah.
Um, our people really what sets us apart with our culture and our commitment to future talent.
Mhm.
As I mentioned, we have one of the larger early careers intakes in our sector, so it's really important that we invest in our people and we develop that talent for the future.
Mhm.
There's a really active early careers community, and we're committed to creating an environment where everyone's welcome, we can all thrive at work, and we really celebrate difference.
Yeah.
We know that we have people here from diverse backgrounds with different perspective, and that results in better outcomes for our clients,
Mm.
which is just good sense, really.
Yeah.
And our graduates and apprentices, they're all on permanent contracts from day one, just
Brilliant.
to reflect how they're all valued as members of the team as soon as they join.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of different networks are employee led, and they're available for people who identify with the group or are allies or simply just want to find out more as well.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different ones. There's things like Empower, which is our women's network. There's Enable, which is for disability and health conditions. We have one for ethnically diverse backgrounds, one for people from the LGBTQ plus community, faith groups, As I say, they're open to all.
Yeah, perfect, lovely. And that leads nicely on to my next question, which I think you've just answered, about what makes you a different consultancy to the other firms who advertise on Gradcracker, but I think you've just hit that in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Lovely.
it.
Thanks,
Lovely
Sarah.
people that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned at the beginning again that you've got your opportunities which are now live on Gradcracker. So just to reiterate, you've got your degree apprenticeship programs, your placements and your graduate programs. And there are lots on there. So it's something that I want to flag for the placements and the graduates. The closing date is the 4th of December. So that is just around the corner. So make sure you do get your applications in for those. Degree apprenticeships is a little bit longer, so the closing date isn't until February for those. So key timelines at the moment are the undergrad and graduate opportunities. Sarah, there's lots of choice for people to choose the types of opportunities that I want to apply for next year. But can you give the audience an overview of what's available this year?
So, as you say, it's a really broad spectrum of opportunities we have across graduates. We have summer placement opportunities, industrial placement opportunities for those who can take a year out,
Yeah.
and also those degree apprenticeship opportunities. And I know we have the closing dates on the adverts, and I know the apprenticeship opportunities closing date seems a little while away, but some roles will close earlier than specified, as we do state on the advert. So do please apply if you're interested to get your application in as soon as you can, because some of them will close earlier due to the popularity of the schemes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but in terms of the types of roles, there's opportunities in engineering. So your kind of core areas, things like civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, process engineering. And there's lots of non-engineering routes as well. So things like building surveying, there's environmental roles, project management, digital. Um, and the way that we kind of advertise our roles for graduates and placements, it's loosely around degree discipline. So you'll find that the roles will reflect the kind of degree that you're studying.
Yeah.
Um, and for the apprentice roles, we advertise those by location.
Mhm.
And they're all available across the whole of the UK.
Yeah. Lovely. And you mentioned about location there, but are the roles hybrid as well, or would you be based within the office location?
So you will be allocated a home office where
Yeah.
you'll be based from.
Mhm.
And we do have a hybrid working policy in place. So the expectation is we spend a minimum of 3 days a week in the office,
Mhm.
or alternatively on a client site, depending on the project you might be working on. As we feel being together in person really helps building stronger relationships. It helps with collaboration and also helps accelerate kind of learning and development, which is really important for our early careers community.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. And we've got a student question. So thank you everybody for submitting your questions for this webinar before we started. So I've got a question from Vivek at the University of Leicester. So Vivek is studying computing and technology and asked Sarah, does this scheme, so this is the computing kind of technology roles, do they require prior coding experience or is this taught on the job?
So thanks for the question. Short version is that our early careers roles, they're all entry level.
Yeah.
We don't look for previous experience. We assess based on candidates meeting the eligibility criteria, so the academic requirements as in the advert, and we also look for future potential. So we
Yeah.
don't look at back at previous experience. So you don't need to have that to be successful with us in our early careers roles.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that we really flagged on the webinar last year as well. It's what you can see in a student that they can bring to in the future rather than what they've done historically, which is really good to know. It's a really nice way to think about how you're thinking about their careers moving forward. And when the student applies to the opportunity, Sarah, they can only apply to the one. Is that still correct?
Yes, we do
Yeah.
ask that you can only apply to one of our early careers opportunities per intake.
Yeah. Lovely, perfect. So make sure you do your research and make sure you apply to that opportunity that you really, really, really want to get and be successful at. So thank you for that introduction, Sarah. What I'm going to do now is hand over to Sophie, who will speak to the grads in more. Sophie's back, and speak to the grads in more detail. These grads, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, all use Gradcracker to find out about their opportunities. So they're going to give us a really good insight about how they have been successful. So Sophie, over to you.
Thank you very much, Carla, and thank you very much, Sarah, for the introduction. So yeah, I'm going to come to our graduates now to find out a little bit more. So Amelia, starting with you, could you tell us a bit more about yourself? So where you went to uni, what you studied, what you're doing now?
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name's Amelia. I work in the Climate Adaptation and Resilience team, which is part of the Sustainable Futures practice at AtkinsRéalis. The team works on climate risk assessment, adaptation planning, and climate disclosure across a variety of different sectors, so including infrastructure, water, transportation, and energy. Prior to joining AtkinsRéalis, I studied geography at the University of Cambridge. I specifically really liked the structure of the geography course at Cambridge that allowed me to continue with a balance of both human and physical geography throughout my degree instead of having to specialise in first year, which I think has been really beneficial for the work that I now do at AtkinsRéalis. So I graduated from Cambridge in July of this year, and I started at AtkinsRéalis at the beginning of September in the London office.
Amazing. Wow. So you've been with Atkins now just coming up to 3 months, is that right?
Yeah, nearly 3 months now.
Wow. And how has that 3 months been? Has it gone really, really quickly? I bet it has.
It's gone really quickly. Yeah, I can't believe how fast it's gone.
Amazing. And tell us a little bit more about the team that you're working in. You mentioned that it's kind of all around climate and sustainability, but give us a bit more detail about kind of what that looks like.
Yeah, so I've worked a lot on some climate risk assessment so far. I've been looking at a couple for some social housing organisations. So it's looking at combining kind of a physical climate risk and also looking at more social vulnerability as well to give an overall view of climate risk.
Okay. And when you say climate risk, what types of things does that kind of incorporate?
So we look at what climate hazards there might be vulnerability to. So for the social housing, for example, we've been looking at mainly extreme heat and flooding. So looking at that physical risk and giving a score based on the exposure and also incorporating building vulnerability into that. And then also the social vulnerability.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amelia. And are you going to be in this role kind of full time, or are you going to be in different areas of the business, or is this you now for the foreseeable?
So I'm part of the climate team as my main role. I've also had the opportunity to do some work for the air quality team as well. My dissertation at university was quite air quality focused, so I've been able to work a bit across both teams. There are a couple of other people in my team which work across different teams in the practice, but it's mostly you apply to work for the team that you'll stay in.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Amelia. We'll be finding out a little bit more detail from you in a little while, but I'll come around and meet the rest of the panel. Harry, coming to you next. So same questions to you. Where did you go to uni? What did you study? And what are you doing now?
Right. Hello there. I'm Harry from Crosby, Liverpool, and I studied for a master's in civil and structural engineering at the University of Sheffield. That's what I studied. What I do now at Atkins. I'm a part of the waters team over there. RDMC, rivers, dams, maritime and coastal. They seem to have plopped me into the rivers aspects more so. I have done some dam work recently. But even more recently, I've just come back from a site visit in the Isle of Skye.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, being based in Glasgow certainly has its benefits. Yeah.
How was the Isle of Skye, Harry? Was it very rural?
It was absolutely wonderful. Yeah, very rural, as you'd expect. Of course, I'm a bit of an outdoors kind of guy. I went to Cumbria a lot on a family holidays.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, absolutely loved it, and it was a tad torrential with
I
with
bet.
like that, doesn't it?
I like that. A tad torrential.
yeah, hail, hail covering the land so thick it looked like snow everywhere.
Yeah.
That's amazing though.
Yeah, but of course, Atkins provided a lot of PPE, so I didn't I didn't feel under the weather.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. And Harry, when did you join AtkinsRéalis?
I only joined about oh God, I don't measure it in weeks anymore. I think it was 2.5 or so months ago.
Okay.
A tad later than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So yeah, you've been in the Rivers, Dams, Maritime and Coastal team mostly so far, and you're based in Glasgow. So just give us a little bit more detail on kind of some of the work that you've done so far.
Yeah. So far, a lot of the early work concerned scour assessments for waterways. That's scour is of course just the erosion that happens with flowing water through a waterway, mostly concerning the stability and safety of bridges, culverts, etc. Since then, I've been involved in a bit of reservoir work in, I think it was Shropshire. I'm not sure. It's surprising how sort of quickly these projects have come and gone. It's hard to remember them all. But that
I can't believe you've
was
done so much in the last.
I know, in 2.5
know.
months. That's amazing.
It really does surprise you. The amount of interesting projects you can work on. So yeah, there was that one that took up a lot of my time recently. And of course, now it seems like a new chapter just opened with the Sky one, because that site visit, of course, is just the beginning of all the work that's supposed to take place on that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Harry. We'll come back and find out a bit more about that project shortly, if that's okay. But I'm going to come over to meet Ivy so she doesn't feel left out over there. So hi, Ivy. Thanks so much for joining us. Same questions to you. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, I'm Ivy. So I just graduated recently in July as well. I went to the University of Bath and I studied civil engineering. I did a bachelor's in civil engineering. I'm currently at AtkinsRéalis a transport planner. So that's sort of planning transport systems like new bus routes. There's been a recent push for more active travel sort of stuff, which is walking, wheeling, cycling type thing. So I've been working a lot on that. And yeah, I started about 2 months ago, so the beginning of October.
Fantastic. So again, really fresh, really new.
Yeah.
And how have you found the first couple of months settling into kind of full-time working life with AtkinsRéalis?
Yeah, it's been really good. Everyone is so friendly. Everyone's really welcoming. There's a big push for new people coming in. They just throw everything at you, so you'll 100% be busy. Yeah, learning a lot on the job, and everyone's so helpful. So asking questions is always good. And yeah, they just want to get you involved. So it's been really welcoming. And yeah, I found it really, really good.
You can tell you've had a smile on your face the whole time talking then, which is great. And coming from civil engineering, did you always know that transport planning was something you were interested in, or was that something a bit new that you kind of just saw with AtkinsRéalis and thought, oh, that sounds like a really interesting role? What was what kind of drew you in?
Yeah, so actually while I was at uni, I did a placement year in London elsewhere as a structural engineer, and I kind of realized it wasn't really for me. But while I was doing that, I did work with some transport planners and people in the transportation industry. So it kind of piqued my interest then. But it wasn't something like I knew I wanted to do. And especially on my course specifically, they didn't super focus on transportation. But yeah, so then when I was looking for jobs on Gradcracker, I saw AtkinsRéalis had that opening for transport planning. I kind of read the description, and the main thing that spoke to me was how people-centric it was. It's very focused on helping the community, talking to people, and like doing something that really matters. So that is what kind of drew me in, and yeah, here I am.
It's got that nice mix of kind of the technical stuff as well as kind of socializing with people and meeting more people on the community side as well. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, just want to shout out the benefit of doing a year in industry, and what that taught you is that even though you didn't want to stay as a structural engineer or with the company that you worked in, you met so many people and that guided you to what you're doing now. And this is one of the real benefits, isn't it, of doing a placement or internship. Even if you decide not to go into that route, you gain so much experience and guidance from where you might want to go anyway. So that's brilliant, Ivy. Thank you so much for that. Carla, I think we have another question now from one of the students.
We do. Perfect. Thank you very much for those introductions, Sophie. So Chantel, I'm going to come back to you, Sarah, if I can. So Chantel from the University of Reading, studying mechanical engineering. So shout out to the mechanical engineering department there. And would like to know a little bit more about the structure of your graduate programmes and placements. So could you give just an overview of what the structure looks like for those?
So in terms of the kind of structure for placements, it can vary. It is very much driven by the team that you'll be working with. For graduates, it's a bit different. There is more structure in place. The learning and development program that goes alongside is a push towards chartership or professional accreditation, depending on which route you're going down. That's very much encouraged here, but there is a kind of welcome event that you have at the beginning of your graduate development program, and various kind of master classes to keep the kind of soft skills development. And you'll have a mentor, you'll have a buddy, and there's so much opportunity there for you to kind of get involved, to meet other people, and to get really good network with other early careers professionals as well.
Brilliant. And a question for the end of the placement. So if a student decides to do a placement with yourselves and Sarah, and everything goes well, all goes to plan, is that student fast-tracked onto the graduate programme? How does that work?
So our top performing placement students do have the opportunity to be fast-tracked. We call it being nominated onto our graduate programme. So you fast-track your application, you bypass the graduate recruitment process, and you're going straight to offer. And it's a really great opportunity to be able to bypass that, because it takes out so much stress when you're going to that final year of your studies. So you can just focus on your studies, getting that grade that you're on track for, doing your very best, enjoying that final year, knowing that you have that opportunity, that offer bagged already before Christmas. And it's quite a nice feeling, I imagine, to have that.
It's just waiting for you to start. So thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Chantel, for asking that question. And I'm going to hand back to Sophie now to discuss projects.
Thank you very much, Carla. So Amelia, coming back to you to find out a little bit more about what you've been up to so far. I know you gave us a really great introduction, but tell us about, I don't know, a key piece of work or a key project that you've been involved in, and how that stood out to you.
Yeah, so I've been working mostly on a climate risk assessment for the National Highway Soft Estate, which consists of the vegetation and woodland owned by National Highways along their road network. So looking at the susceptibility of the assets to various climate hazards in terms of their exposure and sensitivity across the different regions. And then also going on to make some adaptation recommendations as well.
And when you were at university studying geography, did you know this was kind of where you wanted to end up? Were you very focused on, working in sustainability and climate, or was it AtkinsRéalis that kind of drew you in?
I think I've always held a real interest for climate change and sustainability. But I think, as Ivy said, I kind of just read the job description. I thought it fitted me and my interests really well. It wasn't necessarily something I really knew existed until I started researching jobs, but it felt really right for me and my interests.
Amazing. And what's the rest of the kind of graduate program look like for you? What are you hoping to kind of move on to? Do you have an idea what other projects or work you'll be doing?
I think my goal for the moment is just to get as much project experience as I can across as many different sectors that the team works across. I've started recently on a project with the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, so supporting them with the development of their new climate adaptation plan. So I've been reviewing existing frameworks and strategies to see how they cover climate resilience and adaptation in terms of their objectives, to then identify gaps which can inform the new adaptation plan. So I think the kind of local government level I'm really interested in, working with local governments across the UK and developing their climate adaptation plans, which is something that the team's been doing a lot on.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And what was I going to ask you next? Okay, that's brilliant. Sorry, Amelia, my brain's gone blank, so I'm going to move on.
No, that's all right.
I had too many things in my head. Harry, coming to you. Can you tell us a little bit more? Obviously, you've given us the introduction to the Isle of Skye project that you've just been on your site visit. So tell us a little bit more about what you're involved in there.
Yeah, of course. It is one of the well, it is the first such thing that I've been on. So in terms of my sort of contribution, I think that unfortunately I could only take more than I could give, but I certainly learned a lot about what Atkins, very specifically tries to do well in with client interaction, because we were there with our clients. I'm not entirely sure how much I'm allowed to say. I may have to be careful, probably not give any names, but yeah, we interacted with our clients, learn exactly what they want, what they know, what they want us to do, etc. That and yeah, it was very important learning how to sort of, it's all about active listening and proper communication, sort of softer skills. I mean, anyone can go to uni, but you have to have the have the softer skills to interact with clients properly, and that is something that you can't really teach at uni.
No, absolutely. And, this is the benefit of the graduate program at AtkinsRéalis and everything that Sarah was just saying, about, your master classes, getting you kind of prepared for these sort of interactions, because prior to starting a role, you probably haven't had that interaction where you're working with, external stakeholders and, going out to client meetings and all these things. It's all very, very new. And there's a lot to learn, like you said, on that kind of soft skill side of things. So it's great that you're getting that exposure so early on in your career, and also having the support from the graduate development program and Sarah and the team to help you gain those skills. So that's brilliant. And Harry, how long do you think you'll be working on this particular project?
I can't say that I have any idea, to be honest. I mean, you hear about these projects that go on for, say, 5 years or so. I think that that reservoir project that I'm on right now in Shropshire, it started off as we gave a report on it in 2021, which means that we knew about it before 2021. You never know how long these things go on for.
That's great, because you get to see the real detail and kind of follow them all the way through, don't you? Which is fantastic. And how many projects would you be working on at any kind of given time? Is there multiple different things?
Yeah, it can very easily be. Sometimes, one project requires your full attention for a whole week. Other times you're sort of flipping between, maybe 4, just because you're waiting for other people to get back to you and stuff like that. But yeah, it looks like this whole week I was in Skye Monday to just yesterday, and we're filling in the debriefs and the site reports now. So this whole week, one project.
Amazing. So there's quite a lot of time management that you have to do there as well when you've got multiple projects going on at once, which again is a skill that you'll kind of pick up as you grow your career. So thank you very much for that, Harry. Ivy, coming back to you, let's hear a bit more about some of the work that you've been doing, please.
Yeah, of course. So I've been working from probably the beginning of when I started, so about 2 months ago, on this project, which is a combination of, it's called Getting About In, and then we've got one Getting About in Yate, which is sort of Bristolish area, and then Getting About in Thornbury, similar area. And it's basically developing something called livable neighbourhoods, which is a bit of a controversial term, but it's called livable neighbourhoods, which is basically adding and improving routes to help people get around. So whether that's walking, wheeling, or cycling, yeah, it's basically to help people, like school children, get to school easier, safer, making sure people aren't getting hit by cars, making sure there's like appropriate crossing points where they need to be a crossing point, making sure that pavements are appropriate for people to walk on. And it's just basically improving the air quality so that less people are driving, more people are walking, more people are cycling, stuff like that. So I've been working on the business case, which is basically a document which captures and presents the argument for making the changes that we're making. And something that's helped me a lot to write that is I've been out on site, which is quite lucky, with the stakeholders. So that's improving the skills that you and Harry were talking about earlier, which was really interesting to see what people actually thought, like people who lived there, to see what they actually needed in the area, which was a really good insight, because obviously we don't live there, we're not always about in that area, so it's good to sort of get that insight on what people actually need, rather than us doing stuff from an external perspective and sort of ruining their city, which we don't want to be doing. But yeah, in terms of formal training, there wasn't anything super formal. It's mostly you learn on the job. So you ask questions, you get answers, you read other business cases, you sort of get all your information from them, from other people. And yeah, everyone's always very happy to help. So I found it a really enriching thing to do.
That's amazing. And the business case that you're kind of putting together, will that then be working with other teams within AtkinsRéalis to kind of help, any sort of structural designs and things like that? Or, how does that work?
So that's going to the council, and they're going to decide then what sort of improvements they want to make. So it's important that we sort of cover all the routes that they're considering, whether it be a grass path somewhere or through a field or like an active school route. And we sort of do all the analysis on that. We tell them what we think needs improving, and then they go away to figure out basically what they want to do in the end.
Amazing. So it must be quite a lot of detail and work going into those documents that need to go for proposal. So I bet that takes quite a lot of time.
Well, yeah, you want to make sure you don't get anything wrong, really. But there's no pressure, though. Everyone's very helpful.
Amazing. And so after you've kind of finished this initial project that you've been working on, have you got any idea as to what sort of things you'll be working on next?
Yeah, so actually just yesterday I've been contacted by, it's called the street design team. So it's sort of separate from transport planning. And they sort of work more on design, more on the engineering side of things. I think they saw that I had that civil engineering background, and they sort of wanted to see where my skills lied and stuff like that, basically. So they were asking if I wanted to help work with them on projects which would be highways design, stuff like designing pavements, designing islands in the middle of roads type thing, which is more sort of on the technical side. So the thing with that is that there's a lot of opportunity going around, and everyone wants to sort of get you involved. So yeah, I'm quite excited to start working on that.
That's amazing that you've kind of been picked up from what you've studied at university, and you've done a bit of the transport planning side of things, but you've also got exposure into different areas. That's brilliant. I bet you'll learn so much as well doing that.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it, actually, because it's going to be something a little bit different from transport planning. So it'd be nice to sort of do those at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to something that Sarah mentioned earlier around chartership, is that something that you're working towards or have started on that journey to, Ivy?
Yeah, 100%. So as I'm a transport planner, there's something called the TPS, which is a relatively new chartership program. And the thing with the chartership so far is there's quite a few options for me personally to go down. I could go down the ICE route or the CIHT route. And there's a lot of groups of people who are quite professional in a lot of those things, so they know quite a lot about it. And they've been coming to me being like, oh, if you need any help on anything, like we can sort you out. We can give you the answers to the questions that you have, and there's no real pressure to choose a specific one, because I know it can be quite stressful to decide exactly what chartership route you want to go down from the get-go. But there's actually no real pressure to choose right away. And yeah, there's a lot of people to help you get going. So I haven't chosen specifically. I know I definitely want to get chartered in some sort of way, but yeah, and every experience is helping to back you up on any chartership route you really choose, really.
That's brilliant. So you don't have, just because you're in transport planning, you don't have to just do chartership in that area. You can do it in a number of different areas. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So our team has like quite a diverse background of what chartership things they have. So yeah.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ivy. So going to move on now to kind of work, life outside of work a little bit. So Amelia, going to come across to you again. So you're based in London, and obviously recently joined Atkins. Tell us a little bit about kind of the social side, or any of the kind of networking groups and resource groups that Sarah mentioned that you may have been involved in, just to kind of life outside of that day job, really.
Yeah, so there have been quite a few socials and drinks for people in the London office, which has been a great way to meet more people in the office. There are lots of opportunities with the graduate scheme as well. So we had the graduate program launch event in London in person a month ago, which was a really great way to meet some graduates from across different offices, not just in London, and learn a bit more about the company. And we had some workshops as well. And the climate team, which I work on, is made up of around 20 people, but we work in various offices across the country. So we get together every other month in person for our monthly meeting and a social, which is, yeah, it's a really great way to catch up with everyone and get to know the team a bit better as well.
Fantastic. And are there quite a lot of other graduates in the London office with you then, Amelia?
Yeah, there are lots of other graduates across different teams. So we've had some get-togethers kind of across our different practices, and all together there have been some drinks for everyone in the office, which has been really great.
Amazing. So they really do try and kind of get everyone to know each other and put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a very welcoming atmosphere.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Amelia. Harry, going to shoot over to you because you're based up in Glasgow, as you mentioned. And obviously, again, are very fresh to Atkins. How have you found that kind of initial transition in and meeting everybody and the sort of things that have been going on?
Yeah, perfectly fine. I'm very happy with it. I do I said that I'm from Liverpool, and I do think that there's as much as it can matter moving somewhere else in the same country, I think very similar sort of places, similar people. But of course, the office itself, I've gotten along with well. I've had a great time with. We've had some nice socials. Yeah, everything like that. And I think the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice while Ivy was talking, I had the sun on my face. That's not something that happens usually over here. Don't take that for granted if you're applying.
I did notice that, because I had the sun in my face a little bit, and I moved, and you were just like basking in it a little bit.
We enjoy it while we can.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best way.
Don't blame you.
No, that's brilliant. I think, everything that you guys have said so far, it seems like you've all been really, really welcomed, and, lots of things for you to get involved in. Ivy, going to shoot across to you just to sort of hear about your experience as well, because again, different office, but yeah, anything that you kind of want to highlight about your experiences so far at AtkinsRéalis?
Yeah, so part more on the social side, I suppose. There's something in place called the SSC, I believe it's called, and it's basically where you pay £2 out of your salary a month to be part of this sort of sports and social membership. And I sort of use that to play netball every Wednesday with the Atkins team, which is really nice. And it's sort of a good way to like not spend too much money, meet new people around the office, yeah, and do something that you really enjoy. So I found that really like a nice little thing to have on the side. And there's also lots of volunteering opportunities. I've signed up for it's called Net Zero Superheroes volunteering opportunity, where you go to primary schools and you sort of speak to them about climate change and designing sort of climate friendly designs, whether that be better for the school, better for who knows what. But I'll be doing that with my line manager next year, which is really exciting. And then obviously as Christmas is coming up, we've got our team Christmas party, which I'm quite excited for. I think that's in a couple of weeks as well. So yeah, lots to get going with and lots of fun stuff lined up.
That's brilliant. And I think it's really nice to hear. And it's something that we like to talk about on these webinars, because it can be quite daunting, for a graduate, moving to a new city, moving to a new place, potentially where they don't know anybody. And, AtkinsRéalis has got so many different things in place to get you feeling welcome, putting on these events, as well as all the support that you get through the, joining the graduate program. So yeah, that's really, really brilliant to hear. I've really enjoyed talking to all of you, but I am going to go back to Carla now to find out how we get the job with AtkinsRéalis.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, everybody. And Sarah, I'm going to come back to you to discuss this, if I can. So the applications are now open, like we've mentioned. You made a really good point in not delaying get your applications in, even for the degree apprenticeships. So when a student goes to Gradcracker, clicks the apply button, what's in store? What are the next steps?
So application process that we have, it's all online.
Yep.
We do recommend that anyone looking at the roles look through them all very carefully before choosing which one's best suited, because as you said earlier, you can only make one application per intake. And if you're unsure if we might be a good fit for you, we've got this Match Me tool, which is new for this year, where they can go in, you can get instant feedback on how your own working style and preferences align with our culture, to help you make a more informed decision. And then we've also got our connector platform, which you can use to find out more about life with us. And we have mentors available, and they all have first-hand experience of our early careers programs, so they can help answer any questions that you might have. So that's first of all, find the right role. And once you've decided which one is right, you'll then be asked to complete a short online application form, and that gets some basic information about yourself, like your educational history, and where your interests lie, really. So the important thing is we don't take CVs, because we're looking at future potential rather than looking back at past experience. It's really important that people take the time, get all the information that you want to convey, input it into this section. So that's really important. Then after completing that short application form, you go on to do the immersive assessment, which blends different tasks to give you a bit of a feel of what it might be like to work for us. And for this year, we've actually split the assessment into 2 parts, so it makes it a bit more manageable for people. So when they're applying, it's not quite as daunting a task, it's a bit shorter. And it means as well that if you're not meeting our requirements after that first part, you're not investing more time in the process as well. And you get that communication, you know what's happening. So with part 1 of our immersive assessment, there's a mix of situational judgment questions, numerical and verbal reasoning questions. We then review the responses against the criteria of the role that you're looking for. And if you meet the requirements, you go on to be invited to do part 2. And in part 2, you're given a couple of short questions. There's 2 short questions, the written prompts on the screen, and you record your responses using a camera on your device. So it's not a live interaction, it's pre-recorded. Then the next stage is if you're shortlisted, you'll be invited to a virtual interview. This is just an opportunity to find out more about the business you applied to, and virtually meet some of the team who you could be working with. It's an opportunity to showcase your skills, suitability for the role, and also to ask any questions you might have. It's a two-way street, ultimately. You might have questions on how things work and what's expected in the role day to day. Ask the questions. We're here to help you to figure out if this is right for you as much as if you're right for us. The important thing as well to point out is it's a little bit different for us of our placements, and you don't need to do an interview. Instead, we use your application and your online immersive assessment to consider your suitability. And at each stage of the process, you'll be given a little prompt to remind us if you need any adjustments to the process to make sure you perform at your best as well.
Yeah, perfect. And you've mentioned there, Sarah, about future potential, and it's something that we mentioned early on in the webinar. So how do students show you about their future potential? What kind of key things are you looking for?
So as I said, we're not looking for the finished article for our early careers roles.
Yeah.
We're looking for certain qualities and competencies that we know make people successful in our business. So typical things like curiosity, teamwork, resilience, people with a genuine interest in shaping the future. Things like problem solving, communication are always going to be key, alongside willingness to learn and adapt. And we do this through our immersive assessment and virtual interview process. The questions that we ask, they're designed to bring out these competencies that we're looking for. and the questions are very much future focused.
Yeah.
So whether or not you've got experience, you can still answer those questions. It gives a bit more of a level playing field for those who have maybe had access to opportunities previously.
Yeah. And any other hints and tips that you'd like to give? I know you mentioned that you've been at AtkinsRéalis for a number of years. You've seen quite a few applications over the years. What hints and tips, if you do have any more, that would you like to give our students?
There's a few things really. So I think do your research, first of all.
Yeah.
Research our projects, look at what we do, use the tools that were made available for you, use the connector, speak to our mentors. Another key tip is when doing your application, tailor it. The amount of times that we have applicants and they mention our competitors' names in their application, I could go for a meal out for the whole family on that. Wouldn't say I'd be a millionaire, but it happens quite frequently.
Maybe after this year, Sarah, maybe next year be a millionaire.
So yeah, please do try to kind of tailor that.
Yes, absolutely.
To the role, and get some. You can practice your questions. You can check things through, practice in front of a mirror for these when you're doing your kind of video interview. You can practice this, record yourself, time yourself, because to get what you want conveyed on your answers, and make sure that you're giving your best. And you can get somebody else to check through your answers, someone who you trust to look through your application, to check through, to make sure that just a sense check before you submit.
Brilliant. And that leads nicely on, Sarah, to the use of AI when students do put the applications together. So what would your stance be? What would your advice be on a student about using AI?
So we do acknowledge that there's been huge advances in AI over the last couple of years. And we're all using it for different things now. We use it in our business. We use it in different aspects of our lives. And we absolutely say it's fine to use these tools if you want to prepare. To use it for research by all means. However, we do ask that you don't use them during our assessment and interview process. We really want to hear what people's genuine thought processes are. We want to hear authentic ideas. It's much more important to us than having perfect textbook answers. We want to hear about people's own knowledge and experiences when they're responding. And also, it's an opportunity to demonstrate integrity, which is one of our core values that we have as a business.
Yeah, brilliant point to make there, Sarah. Thank you for that. And don't forget, like Sarah's mentioned, when you are putting your application together, you are doing your research, the AtkinsRéalis Hub on Gradcracker is full of information. So Sarah mentioned projects, for example. We've got a project page on there and lots of student profiles that you can go and refer to before you put the application together to show that you've done the research. Watch this webinar, watch the snippets that we'll put together tomorrow, and tell Sarah and her team that you've been here watching us live. And it just show that you've you've done your research and you've paid that little bit more of attention during your application. So what I'd like to do now is go over and speak to the grads. So I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar again that they all use Gradcracker to put their applications together. So I kind of want to go through each step of the process and give you, our students who are watching, some hints and tips about how these three use Gradcracker to apply and be successful. So Amelia, I'm going to come back to you. So your initial experiences of putting your application together. So talk to me a little bit more about how you used Gradcracker to find the perfect role, and then how did you apply?
Yeah, so I found pretty much all of the jobs that I applied for on Gradcracker. So I started by filtering by my degree discipline and also by location, as I knew my preference was to work in London. I then used the site to search for and identify the opportunities using keywords, and I could then favourite companies and save jobs to my shortlist. And also set up email alerts for when applications opened. And this meant I could be really organised and get my applications in early, which I think set a good precedent going forward, and also ensured that I didn't miss out on any of the opportunities to apply. all the information I needed about the roles was on Gradcracker, so I could study the role descriptions and requirements and review the company values and learn more about the different training and development opportunities. And this really allowed me to tailor my application to show how my experience and values aligned with the job description and all the information on Gradcracker. And yeah, I'd say just really use the opportunity to show your interest and your enthusiasm and provide all the evidence that you can to show that you're the right person for the role.
Perfect answer, Amelia. Well done. Good kiss you. So thank you very much for that. Harry, so on to you. So next stage, interview. So how did you prepare for the interview? Any hints and tips? What was it like? Were you a bit scared? Talk me through the process.
Yeah, I think I should first say it feels so long ago.
I know, I was thinking that.
Yeah. From what I remember, I think one of the most important things was research, you know, learning about the role, learning about the whole field in general, what Atkins has done in that field, you know, showing that I know that I did the work in the interview. I mean, of course, I'm not an interviewer, but I assume that that kind of stuff shows that it's simply that you can do that kind of work, that you can go and learn independently. I think that one thing that really helped me was getting across how much I think, capable of independent learning. It's not necessarily something that you know everyone sort of says that they require in a job, but I think that showed that I, as alluded to, had the capability to, you know, grow. It's not something that I have a certificate for. It's not something I have qualifications in, but it showed that yeah, I have potential.
Yeah, definitely. You've definitely got potential, Harry. And next stage of the application process, what was that for you? Was that the assessment centre, or can you remember? Cast your mind back a year. Is it gone?
Next stage.
It's a distant memory now, isn't it? You've been successful. You don't need to remember, do you?
Yeah, in a way.
But
I'm actually not sure I can say about that.
Do not worry, I won't put you on the spot. So thinking about what you've achieved then, within, you know, getting a job at AtkinsRéalis, being successful, going through your final year at university, starting your opportunity, what hints and tips, or what do you think you've learnt in the past year or so that you would want to give to students as advice when they're putting their applications together?
Well, I think that one thing that held me back a little bit was being a bit picky. I wanted to sort of stay around Liverpool, but you know, I gradually expanded my search area, and obviously you end up loving wherever you go to. You find the nice places. You end up doing what you love anyway. So I would say don't be too picky. It's not really something that you can that is, you know, I don't know, might feels like it's not the answer that you were hoping for, but
No.
I think that that's something that I learned.
You've raised a really good point there, Harry, probably unknown to yourself, but it's true. You know, I speak to a lot of employers, a lot of students, who I think, oh, I just want to work at this location. And if you expand that a little bit more, like Harry did, you know, maybe the perfect opportunity is waiting for you. So try and be as open. I'm getting a nod from Circus. That was a good answer. Thanks, sir. So really try and be open-minded as possible when you do apply to the opportunities. Harry, do you see yourself staying in Glasgow, or do you think you're going to move somewhere else?
I think I actually do. I think I am really enjoying it here.
Good.
It's a great town.
Yeah, lovely, perfect. Thank you very much, Harry. And Ivy, last but not least, first couple of weeks at AtkinsRéalis. So, how did you prepare? You seem like you've done an awful lot in the couple of months that you were there. But what hints and tips would you give students who are just starting out their career?
Yeah, of course. So I think the main thing is once you get that offer, yeah, congratulations. But also you get given a buddy, which I thought was so good, because my buddy, he reached out, he got in contact with me throughout the summer while I was sort of like preparing myself to go in on that first day. So yeah, he's there on email to answer any questions that I had. No question is a silly question. Literally ask, what should I wear? How should I get to work? That sort of thing. I was even asking him, oh, where do you think I should live? Because I moved to Bristol. I didn't even know the first thing about where, like the best location. My buddy also invited me to come in to the office actually in July, so I could meet the team, say hi, show my face, sort of get acquainted with everyone before I came in on that first day, because obviously that's quite a daunting thing to get straight into it, start working and you don't know anyone. So that was good. I got to meet my line manager, which was really useful, and he helped me out through the summer as well with some technical bits that I was having issues with, which was really good. But yeah, it made it easier to ask more questions as well, which was good. He helped me book a parking spot on the first day. Just small things like that was really good. So I think when you get assigned a buddy, it's a really good idea to get in contact with them as well, make that first move, ask the questions, because then it also shows that you're excited to come work, which hopefully you are. And then in those first few weeks, I think the main tip I have is to say yes to everything. So people are going to ask you, oh, Ivy, do you have availability for this? Just say yes. Ivy, do you want to get involved with this? Just say yes. Do you want to go to site? Yes, I do. Do you want to talk to this person? 100%. So yeah, I think just show that you're keen, show that you want to get it all done. And then through that process, you sort of learn what you need to learn, get that experience, and show people that you're competent, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it is those small things, isn't it? Like parking spaces that stress you out. I know when I used to go to client sites, I used to be panicking about parking. Like, what am I panicking for? But it's just like those little things, like what to wear and things like that. It's really good that you've got that person there that you can go to, confide in, and ask all the questions that you've just mentioned. So use that person, I think you're saying as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And yeah, they're literally happy to help you on anything. So just, yeah, reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ivy, and thank you everybody as part of the AtkinsRéalis panel. You've been amazing, as you are every year. I always look forward to this webinar because you just give us such a really good insight into the application process and what you can be involved in as graduates and students at AtkinsRéalis. So thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for joining us. This webinar will be live on the AtkinsRéalis Hub, and we'll break it down into bite-sized chunks as well, which will be live on there tomorrow. Don't forget to get your applications in. The closing date is imminent for the opportunities, for the placements and the graduate opportunities, and don't leave it too long to apply for the graduate apprenticeships, because as Sarah said, they will close as soon as they have received enough applications. So yeah, that's me done for this year. I am going to put my feet up, but Sophie and the lovely Jessica will be here next Thursday, same time, 2 p.m, where we will be speaking to MathWorks with the lovely Amy. MathWorks is a leading developer of mathematical computing software, so I'm going to be watching to find out what that is. And we'll see you all again, not very technical, see you all again soon, and good luck with your applications. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everyone.